A gute Woche. And a guten Erev Yitshvat. We'll try to do a brief synopsis of this afternoon's Farbrengen. The Rebbe's Al began that, first of all, it is Parshas Boy today. And based on the word of the Alter Rebbe, that we have to live mit der Zeit, live with the times, which is interpreted that it relates to Parshas HaShavua. So first of all, we have to relate to the Seder. The contents of Parshas Bo is Yitzias Mitzrayim. As we will begin to read Tevei Mincha, Vahi Bishalach Paro Yisrael, how Paro sent out the Yidden, but all the details of Yitzias Mitzrayim are already told in Parshas Bo. Though about the Makis we already begin to read in Parshas Ve'era, but nonetheless the details of Yitzias Mitzrayim that the Torah tells us about in Parshas Bo, which this is what the general contents of the Seder is. Though we know that every parsha of every day has a special shaykhs to that day, as it is in Shiurim of Chitas. In other words, Sunday has a special shaykhs to the Seder till Sheni, Monday from Sheni to Shlishi and so forth. However, Shabbos, being that on Shabbos we read the entire Seder, so Shabbos we have a shaykhs to the entire Seder. And especially during the week, we already prepared for Shabbos. We learned the Seder on a day-to-day basis, every day learning the parsha of this day. And as we know, the famous Chazal, Misha Torach be'erev Shabbos, Yechol b'Shabbos, the one who prepares before Shabbos, has what to eat on Shabbos. So the same way, the spiritual sense, when we prepare for Shabbos, when we learn the Seder of the week, every day during the week, we are preparing for Shabbos. Though we know that this concept of every day preparing for Shabbos, this is something which is the opinion of Beis Shammai. And Gemara, there's machlekes of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai are under the impression, their opinion is that every day, Sunday, Monday, right away from the beginning of the week, and a person approaches something nice, he should save it for Shabbos. He may find something nicer. So if he finds something nicer during the week, then he will put this away and save the yet better thing for Shabbos. Beis Hillel are not of this opinion. The opinion of Beis Hillel is Baruch Hashem Yoim Yoim. We always hope that we will find every day what we need for that day. Therefore, there's no use to search on Sunday or on Monday what we should use for Shabbos. It will come closer to Shabbos. Baruch Hashem Yoim Yoim. We thank the Rebbe every day separately. We know that the halacha is, like in every matter, halacha is according to Beis Hillel. But the fact that the halacha is according to the Beis Hillel, the Rebbe explained this afternoon, that is because we are not at the level of Beis Shammai. What is the type Shammai? Let's touch up the word. Shammai is Meloshen Shom. Shammai. He evaluates himself. What's the opinion of Beis Shammai? Beis Shammai, they were with the opinion that every time, in every inyan we come into contact, we have to really and truly evaluate ourselves. Shammai meloshen shumim, meloshen upshots in Yiddish is the expression. We evaluate, we estimate the value, how much everything is. That's a shumai is somebody who appraises things, he gives values on things. So the same thing, Shammai are under the impression that a person has to appraise himself, evaluate himself. Is he already up to this level of whatever he is doing? We cannot follow such a pattern. It's a too hard pattern for every one of us to follow. Beis Hillel are much more lenient, and that is why today we can all follow the opinion of Beis Hillel. And that is why it's brought in Chassidus that when Mashiach will come, the halacha will be according to Beis Shammai. Why? Because when Mashiach will come, everybody will be elevated to such a level, to such an extent, that we all will be able to live up to the standard, to the requirements of Shammai. Getting back to the Seder. What is the contents of Parshas Bo, as we mentioned? Parshas Bo relates to Yitzias Mitzrayim. And in Yitzias Mitzrayim, by Yitzias Mitzrayim we find that is when the Yidden got the title from the Rebbe that every Yid is called a member in Tzivos Hashem. Every Yid is a member of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's army. And this title the Rebbe gave Yidden when he took us out of Mitzrayim. What's the taich in Ish Sava, somebody in a soldier in an army? Continues the Rebbe, when a soldier in the army, under every moment of the day, it is noticeable on him that he is a soldier. Even when he sleeps like a soldier. In other words, he's on duty, even when he sleeps as well. Though, when a person sleeps, all his koiches geluyim, the regular koiches which normally function by a person, are not functioning when a person sleeps, but being that the etzem hanefesh, the essence of the person, does function when he sleeps, so we say the fact that Ish Sava, he's so dedicated to the cause that he's serving, that it's the essence of his soul, that is, of his neshama, that's serving whomever he's serving, and therefore even when he sleeps it's also noticeable, and even at that time he's also serving for the cause what he's serving. And in Mela the same when we're talking about Tzivos Hashem and Guchnias in the spiritual sense, a Yid at all times, even at a time of sleeping, it's always noticeable on him, it should be noticeable on him at all times that he's a member of the Eibush Tazon. And here the Rebbe elaborated at length what's the pshat in Ish Tzava, or some Ish Chayil, Anshe Chayil, so also in the famous Maimah of Basi Lagani, written by the Frierdiker Rebbe. It was published by the Frierdiker Rebbe to learn, it was given to learn for Yud Shvat, for the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe passed away. There, the Rebbe explains at length, and refers at length to this concept, how Yidden are called Tzivos Hashem. And there he also brings out how during a time of war, the Melech is mevazbeis, the oitzres, takes the most important, the most valuable treasures, and splurges them, and gives them away. Treasures which under normal circumstances would never be touched. Nobody would ever dream of touching them. However, when it's a time of war, and it's a time of the tzachna, we have to achieve a victory, then he takes the most hidden treasures and gives them out and splurges them. And to who does he give it out? Gives it away to the Anshe Chayil, to the simple people who are serving him in the army. And here the Rebbe stressed at length how when we're talking about the Anshe Chayil, the simple people, simple members in the army, it is the pshitas, the simplicity of these people, their avodah, through their simplicity, they are taking the simplicity of Lamaila, which is the etzem, the essence of Lamaila, the essence of the neshama, is being tied, is getting its kesher, its relationship being tied with the etzem and neshama of Lamaila, and when this combination happens, it is dafke through the avodah of the noshim pshutim of the simple Jews, their sincere and true avodah. The avodah of the simple Jew is without any flair, without any giluyim, without any the true and simple avodah of the nish pashut. It is dafke this avodah that takes and responds to the etzem, to the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'mayla, and they relate one to another. And especially now in Ikvus de Mashiach, we are in the time of Ikvus de Mashiach, and when we're talking about simple people, the simple people, they are also the akvayim, they are the heels of Klal Yisrael. And this avodah of the akvayim, I had a brought in a very geschmacketayich. A heel, Lashon HaKodesh, is an eikev. This is what Chassidus always teaches, the hoya eikev tishmon. That's when we listen, person listening to the Eibishter, not becomes permeated, his entire body, responding to the request of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that even his eikev, even his heel, is also fulfilling the wish of Hashem. This is an inyan which is mentioned in Chassidus many times. Today the Rebbe went further. He brought out, we find, when the Malachim came to Avraham Avinu, they had avak al gabe ragleim. They had the dust on their feet. And it's described, the Chazal tell us, that being that Avraham didn't know who they were, and he thought that they were worshipping Avodah Zarah, so he related to this dust, that this is dust from worshipping to Avodah Zarah. What is bringing out? There's the avak shal gabe raglayim. There could be the dust on one's foot in a positive sense. In other words, that he's so durchgenommen with serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. His entire essence, his entire etzem has affected his entire body. That from head to toe he's serving the Rebishter. And not only from head to toe, but even the dust that's on his toes. Ovak shal gaber ragleim in the positive sense. The Ovak shal gaber ragleim is also serving the Rebishter. And all of this is the Avodah V'Yidin and Ikvus of the Mashiach in these times. Ikvus of the Mashiach is also, as a Pshait, we're at a stage where already the final steps before the coming of Mashiach. And again, using the expression Okev again, a heel, books we're already hearing the heels of Mashiach coming. It's already the very end of the Avodah, the very bottom of the Avodah. Again, it relates to the concept of an Okev, because an Okev is at the bottom. But here we're bringing it out in the internal explanation and an in-depth explanation. What all this means, Okev is stuck on the bottom, but an Okev brings out the highest level of simplicity. The lowest level in a person. So what is the Taich we are saying? That when the most simple Jew serving the Rebishter in the most simple way, and Adarabbe, in this simplicity, in this pure and honest and true simplicity which he is serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this is affecting his entire being all the way down to his akvayim, to the lowest of his own madrege, and to the Ovak Shal Gaber Raglav. And it is this level of simplicity that corresponds to the etzem, to the essence of the Rebishter L'mayla. Later the Rebbe continued that we are the 40th year, Shnas Ha'arboim. Regarding Shnas Ha'arboim, we will know the pasuk, Nosan Hashem Lachem, Leiv Lodas, Einayim Lirois, Oznayim Lishmoya, and Leiv Lodas. When does one reach this level of Einayim Lirois, Oznayim Lishmoya, and Leiv Lodas? This happens in Shnas Ha'arboim in the 40th year. This is a pasuk which Moshe Rabbeinu used when Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to the Yidden, and it was 40 years after Yetzias Mitzrayim and 40 years after Matan Torah, and that is what he was telling them, that they are now reaching to this level of Einayim Lirois, Oznayim Lishmoya, and Leiv Lodas. And from here Chazal derive and use the expression that when one reaches after 40 years, Koyim Inish Adaite the Rabbi. That is when one can have some sort of an idea of the das of his Rebbe. The Gemara says, the Rebbe brought out, pasuk says, Nosan Hashem Lochem Leiv Lodas. First of all, there's a klal, Kol HaNoisein Ba'ayin Yofen Noisein. Anyone that gives with a good eye. And this is something which is given by the Rebishter. In other words, and by the Rebishter on what level? By the Rebishter on the level of Shem Havaya. Nosan Havaya Lachem Leiv Lodas. We find when the Rebishter created the world, the first revelations were only through Shem Elokim. Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'soros. And in fact, through the entire days of Bria, we find constantly Shem Elokim. It is later, when it came to Shabbos, that is when we find Biyoim Broi Havaya Elokim Eretz v'shamayim. So here we are saying that this Gilui, what the Rebishter is giving by Shnas Ha'arboim, this is something which is coming from the level of Havaya, which is a higher madrege than Elokim. And this the Rebishter is giving. Nosan, Kol HaNoisein Ba'ayin Yofen Noisein. The Rebishter is giving us this. And the Rebishter is giving us Einayim Lirois, Oznayim Lishmoya, and Leiv Lodas, which this, as the Rebbe explained, refers to the three levels of Chochmah, Bina, V'das. Chochmah is an inyan of Einayim Lirois. Chochmah relates to Re'iyah. When one understands the Dvar Seichel and he goes through various stages, it begins with Chochmah, and from Chochmah we come to Bina, and from Bina we come to Das. So first of all, he gets a general view, a general idea. That's the Einayim Lirois. And this view which one gets, this envision which we get in the Dvar Seichel, the theory which we are trying to understand, this leaves a very strong impact on the person. As we know, the effect of Re'iyah. The effect of Re'iyah is so strong that there is a klal in Halacha, Ein Eid Nasa Dayin. If somebody witnessed an incident, he witnessed an incident where, let's take for example, he saw somebody kill somebody else. and this person happens to be a dayan. He later cannot be a judge on this case. Why? Being that he saw it himself. When one sees something be'einav, he sees it with his own eyes, it leaves such a strong impact on him that he will not be able to be a fair judge of this matter. That is why ein eid nasa dayan. One who was a witness on something cannot become a dayan. But getting back to our union, what we derive from here is the strong effect that the re'iyah has. Then what it comes to is oznayim lishmoya. Oznayim lishmoya means we start hearing, we start taking apart, and it starts coming into us, and we start really understanding all the details of this Dvar Seichel which we have studied. And then comes Leiv Lodas. Here the Rebbe saying that all these inyanim, what is primarily important, that the outcome of all of this, that it should all lead to an increase in Maise, in Hisofa. Ha-Maise Hu'eika. And that is why we say, Leiv Lodas. From the Leiv, from Das, it is coming down into the Leiv already. In other words, it doesn't only remain in Moyach, it comes down from Moyach into Leiv. And when we're talking in the levels of Chachma, Bina, Das, Das is already considered an inyan of Maise, and the level of Moichin. In other words, out stressing how all of these great revelations which are coming at the 40th years, but what does it all have to lead to? It all has to lead to a Maise. And the Rebbe was elaborating that when we're getting this tremendous gift of a Naim Lirois, Oznayim Lishmoya, and Leiv Lodas, the person is supposed to become an entire, refreshed, new person. He's becoming a Beria Chadosha, a new person. The Rebbe explained the expression of Chazal, Koyim inesh adaita the Rabbi. Chazal tell us that a person can become standing, Koyim. He stands firmly adaita the Rabbi. Now we know there are various titles given to man in Lashon HaKodesh. Let's explain the Chassidus. Adam, Ish, Enosh, and Gever. Adam usually relates to a person in the highest madrig of a person, and because Adam, the word Adam comes from Adam Ola Elyon. He's compared to his master. When we are using on man the title of Enosh, Enosh, it's explained in Chassidus, stems from the word weak. In other words, it does not bring out the positive in the person. On the contrary, it describes a human being, it describes a person in his weakness. And what do we say? When it comes Shnas Ha'arboim, Koyim Inish Adaita Darabe. Even the one that until now he's at a level of Inish. He's not far from being an Adam, far from being an Ish. He's in a level of Enosh. Koyim Inish, Enosh. In other words, he's a person, he's a mensch, but what type of description do we use on him? Such a description that describes the weaknesses of man. And still we say that even such a person, when it comes Shnas Ha'arboim, Koyim Inish Adaita Darabe. And here the Rebbe went into a lengthy explanation how when we become a Beria Chadosha, we become a new Metzias, a new being. And this Shnas Ha'arboim, everyone is to become, every person is a Moisad. Every person is an institution. To touch it up, not the pshat that I am a person. And when I will have spare time, and when I will have an opportunity, I will also go ahead and do certain things, do things for Afatzis HaMayonos, Afatzis HaYados, and so forth. It is not so. When a person realizes that every single person is an institution, and when every single person is an institution, he's a moiset for the spreading of Yiddishkeit and for the spreading of Chassidus, then his attitude is a completely different one. It's not the touch that he is a person, and when he will have time, he will do something. When he will have a chance, we'll chaparayim and do something. No, everyone is a moiset. The Rebbe related to the name of the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Frierdiker Rebbe's name was Yosef, and the whole idea of Yosef is to increase, to be Meisef, and then the extent of Yosef Hashem Li Bein Aches. The Rebbe always brings the famous touch from the Tzemach Tzedek, to reach out that to the one that until now he's still at a level of an Acher, he's an outsider. It is not noticeable on him that he's a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To reach out to him and to be Meisef him too, to add him also on, that it should be noticed that he too is a son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is what, it's explained in Chassidus that all the Shvatim relate to various spheres. And the sphere of Yosef is spheras ha-Yesoid. What's the meaning of a Yesoid? A Yesoid is a foundation. And we have to know that what is the foundation of every person? Every person has to know that his foundation is that he is a Moiseh, that he is an institution. Just like the Rebbe spoke about everyone on an individual basis, on a private basis, personal basis, how every person individually is an institution. The Rebbe also suggested and asked that it would be extremely appropriate that in response to Shnas HaRaboyim to add and increase new moistos, new institutions, new divisions of institutions, and new moistos of institutions, and in order that it should function properly and to make sure that the new institutions in all these respective places are going in the right direction, the best way would be that a committee of 2 or 3 people should be involved in the establishing the committee of these new institutions which are going to be formed. So, well, the Rebbe also spoke about utilizing these days, the day of Yud Shvat, for inyanim of Tefillah, for giving tzedakah, and how appropriate it would be that the giving of tzedakah should be in amounts of 40. And also the days around Yud Shvat should be utilized properly, including the day of next Shabbos, which is also a special day. Next Shabbos will be Shabbos Shira, because we will be reading Parshas Beshalach, which has the Shira of Oz Yashir in it. And besides, it will also be Chamishasa B'Shvat, and Chamishasa B'Shvat in itself is a special day. It's a day when we eat fruit, and particularly the fruit of Eretz Yisrael. So it's a day, a special day, and a day of significance in itself. So therefore, extremely appropriate to utilize all these days, and utilize them in a proper way, suitable to these days, and especially this year, that this year is a Shnas HaArbayim. The Rebbe referred to many times, a few times in the Farbrengen, that the Mittel Rebbe explains at length how there are many inyanim in Avodah, that at times we come to a hisboinenus klolis. In other words, we think about something, but we think about it in very general. This is insufficient. Because when we think about inyanim and we decide to do inyanim, and in a very general way, in a very general manner, it does not come down into action, does not come down into deed. Mittel Rebbe brings out that not only do we need a hisboinenus klali, we need a hisboinenus protis to go into the full details. And this is how we find the Seder Avodah V'Yid is also the same. How do we begin our Seder? We start off with Moidani. What is Moidani? Moidani is a general thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the Rebbe returned our soul again, and we awakened this morning, so we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But as we pass Moidani, we go into Brachas. Brachas is already a detailed thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the pshat? It's a detailed thanks, so it's already an avodah in protim, in details. The same when it comes to Shemona Esrei, we again get into details. We get into many, many details. Why? Because his boinin is klalit, in a general format is insufficient. In order it should be effective, in order it should lead to fruitful results, all these good decisions and all these good thinking, all the good thinking and all the hisbaininess has to come down in a detailed hisbaininess and a detailed achlotes and a detailed maisim and in a detailed program of work and of activity, and then it is successful. A good